Hey guys, it's Russ Ruffino with Clients on Demand. Today we're going to be talking about objections. Why do you get objections on your calls? Why do you get clients telling you that you need to think about it? And what can you do to fix it? Stay tuned. All right, guys, we are back. It is Russ Ruffino with Clients on Demand. I am here with Mr. Mark Von Muser, our Director of Sales. And today we're going to be talking about objections, right? So you've heard these, you've seen these, you're talking to a potential client, maybe you're face-to-face, maybe you're on the phone, doesn't matter. And you get to your pitch, you get to your offer, and the client tells you, I got to think about it. Or I have to talk to my wife, I got to talk to my husband, or this is too expensive, or this is a lot of money. Whatever those objections are, they come up and you got to know how to deal with them. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And honestly, guys, we're probably the best in the world at this because for a few reasons. Number one, all we do is high ticket. So we don't do anything for $47 or $97. All of our programs are in the multiple thousands of dollars. And that's what we teach our clients to do too. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that we make probably 95% of our enrollments on the very first call. So, there's a lot of people that teach sales and enrollments. They teach phone sales and they're telling you to have conversation after conversation after conversation. They're telling you to follow up with people 5 times or 10 times or 15 times. We don't have time for any of that stuff. We have between 30 and 40 people every day reaching out to talk to us about joining our high ticket programs. And so what that means is that we have to have a sales process and an enrollment process that's very efficient. So we enroll those people on the very first call. So what that means is that when you're talking about a high ticket sale on the very first call, nobody does it better than we do. And what that's meant for us is that we got to get really, really, really good at dealing with and preempting objections. And nobody on the planet is better at that than Mr. Mark Von Muser. So Mark, talk to us today about what objections are and why they happen.
Sure. And I love this topic because this is one of the Achilles heel of the old way of doing enrollments, the old way of doing it. In the past, what objections are is basically it's a declaration by the buyer that they're not ready. They don't have enough certainty. They don't have enough confidence. They don't know that this is the problem and it's something that needs addressing right now. And so what happens is the objections show up as a response, a buyer defense response to the uncertainty. Now, in the past, the way that they've normally addressed it is you memorize a whole slew of different things to say. So you've got your flashcards of maybe 100 or so, the Ben Franklin close, the sharp angle close. There's all these different old school type closes. But the problem is all of those are simply parroting back a response. The client doesn't feel heard. The client doesn't feel understood. And the problem with that is that when you start parroting the old way of doing it, you actually alienate the client even further. And now it becomes almost like a verbal fist fight. And, unfortunately, that just doesn't work with today's buyer. Today's buyer's evolved and they want a better conversation. So our approach is completely different where we address that, from a completely different direction.
Mark, I love that. So you've got one way of dealing objections, which is sort of the canned response way. And I think you're right. This is what a lot of people are teaching. I mean, there's whole books about this whole course is about this. And I kind of think of those as almost being like pickup lines. Like we're gonna give you a couple lines that a cool, confident person would say. And maybe if you say it, you'll come off that way too. But to me, that seems really iffy, right? I mean, there's a huge difference between someone who's like relaxed and confident and just a cool person, a good person saying something to someone, and someone who's filled with fear and just, kind of creepy and weird saying the exact same thing. So there's no question in my mind that just giving people a canned response to objections is not the way to deal with it. And when I was first starting this company and we started, doing high ticket sales, that was all there was. I went out there in the marketplace to do some research. I went there to find out, because I was running into objections and I was like, there's got to be a way to handle this. And I looked at the material and all that stuff just doesn't work. And then deep down, it doesn't work, right? There's no magical slogan or bumper sticker or whatever that you're going to throw at your clients. And then all of a sudden it's going to flip the script on getting them to enroll where they weren't going to enroll before. And they are now. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That stuff absolutely doesn't work. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is it's important to be aware of what is the conversation that you're having. Like this sales conversation that you're having, what is it? And why are you trying to ask these people to hire you? So here's what I mean. There's a lot of people out there that are, posting pictures of their cool cars. They're posting pictures of their private jets. They're posting pictures of their cool house. And it's like, okay, all that stuff is fine. Many, many times when you see that, guys, by the way, it's totally fake. The cars are rented. The house is rented. They rented it for a day. They did a photo shoot, whatever. But you see that kind of stuff, right? And fundamentally, the conversation that they're having with you is hire me because I'm cool. Hire me because I got a cool car. Hire me because I have a cool house. Hire me because you want to be like me. So that's one group of people that are trying to sell based on lifestyle, where the conversation is, hey, hire me because you like me or whatever. The other group of people are people that try to just give you tons and tons and tons and tons of free content. They give you tons of free content, and then they try to make the sale. And their sales pitch is basically, hey, I just gave you all this free stuff. Now you owe me. You better buy something from me because you feel so grateful. And you know what, guys? That doesn't work either. The conversation that you need to be having, and this will go a long way toward clearing up any objections that you're running into, is that you are stuck here and you want to get here. That's it. That's the sales conversation. You're stuck in this terrible problem. And here's what it's costing you to stay stuck there. And by the way, here's what's waiting for you on the other side. And do you want to make that journey from here to here? Yes or no? And the reason that's such a powerful conversation, guys, is because it's a much, much easier decision for them to make. If I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you and I'm like, you're telling me about your coaching program or your event or whatever it is, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking to myself, God, do I really want this guy's coaching program? Yeah, there's like 20 modules and there's 8 bonuses maybe, and there's all this extra stuff. And I don't know. And is that something I really want to spend $5,000 on, $10,000 on? I don't know. It's a tough decision. But if you ask me, hey, you're, 80 pounds overweight. Do you want to drop that 80 pounds and get in the best shape of your life? Yeah. Your marriage isn't working. Do you want to fix the problems in your marriage and step into a whole new level of passion with your wife or your husband? Yeah. Your business is failing. Your business is struggling. Do you want me to show you how you can scale your business to 6 figures, 7 figures a year? Yes. So many of these objections, guys, come up because you're having the wrong conversation. You're making the decision too hard when really you want to make it easy. And what that means is you're stuck here and you want to get here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And Russ, that's a really, really great point, because that's what most people do. They don't want to have a real conversation. So they're having a superficial conversation about, oh, well, here's my features and benefits. Here's what we do. Here's what we can. But they ignore the problem that got the client on the prospect on the phone in the first place. So they're having a superficial conversation, which, by the way, will absolutely get people to want to go ahead and create objections. If you don't get really good at getting to the truth and showing people how to do that and give them clarity about the problem and the consequences, they're not going to solve it. They're going to come up with more objections than you can imagine.
Exactly. So that's the first reason why you guys get objections, is that there's no clarity on the problem. You're not clear on the problem you solve. Therefore, your marketing isn't clear about the problem you solve. Therefore, your clients aren't clear on the problem you solve. And when you're on the phone with that person, that's your chance to really go deeper into not just what is the problem you solve, but how is that problem showing up in your client's life every day. So Mark, you talked about how, a lot of the time when people are doing these phone conversations, they're talking about their features, they're talking about their benefits, they're talking about their offers, they're talking about where they got certified. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's not about you, is it? It's about the client. And it's about how this problem is affecting their life and ruining their life. It's about how this problem is just going to get worse and worse and worse over the next year or 5 years or 10 years. And it's also about what do they need to do to fix that problem once and for all. And so one thing I want you guys to understand is that when you're doing an enrollment conversation, you really shouldn't be talking about yourself that much at all. If you're talking about yourself through this whole thing, you're taking the focus off of where it needs to be, which is square on the problem and how it's showing up in the client's life. So if there's one big reason, the first big reason why you guys are getting hit with all these objections, it's because you're not clear on the problem and you're having the wrong conversation.
I love that, Russ, too. When you're talking about also about where people are going to want to talk about themselves, that's a comfort zone for people. The belief is that if I tell you all about me and all my certifications and how smart I am, and let me use some therapy and I'll show you how good I am, that hopefully you will decide to buy. And it doesn't work that way. So we watch people get caught up in that trap all the time where they're wanting to let you know, where let me therapy you, let me do some coaching right now, and you're going to be so impressed you're going to want to hire me. Now, the problem is that still doesn't address the second big reason that people are coming up with objections, which is certainty. They do not have certainty that about what the problem is, or whether or not you're the best solution to solve it. And I saw this a lot in real estate where people wanted to sell their house. And if they didn't buy or list, I was like, why didn't they not list? And it came down to certainty. They thought maybe there was a better solution out there for them. So if people are coming up with objections, it's also because you did not give them certainty that this problem needs solving. And number two, that you're the best person to help them solve it. And if you don't do that, they will continue to come up with more objections. It's just that simple.
And Mark, it's funny because we could do a whole show just on that. How do you create that certainty in the mind of the client? But what I found is that when you can describe someone's problem better than they can, they automatically assume that you know the answer. So this is another reason why it's so important to keep that focus square on the problem. So let me just give you like a real quick example. Let's just say that you're having this really, really weird pain in your wrist and you've never felt anything like this before. And you feel this pain in your wrist and it radiates up to your shoulder and then it shoots back down to your wrist. It's the weirdest thing you've ever felt in your life. And let's just say you're walking down the street and let's say you're talking to your friends and you're going, yeah, man, I got this really weird pain in my wrist, blah, blah, blah. And let's say you guys are walking past a homeless guy, right? Somebody with absolutely no authority, somebody with absolutely no letters after their name, no medical credentials, nothing. But it's just a random homeless guy. And he overhears you talking to your friends and he goes, oh, excuse me. Hey, man, I couldn't help it over here. You said you're having a pain in your wrist, right? Is that pain starting in your wrist and it's shooting up to your shoulder and then it's going back down to your wrist? What would your next thing you would say? You'd say, yeah, how do I fix it? So right away, because someone understands the problem that you're going through, you automatically assume that they have the answer to that problem. So by putting the focus square on the client and square on their problems at the beginning of the conversation and throughout the conversation, you're demonstrating that you have a deep understanding of what that problem is and how that problem shows up. So just by asking really good questions that dig into that problem and show that you have a deep understanding of that problem and how it shows up, right away, the client, even independent of any other information about you, they may not know where you went to school or where you got certified or any of that nonsense. And maybe you didn't go to school and maybe you aren't certified. But if you understand that problem and you can demonstrate to your client that you understand that problem better than they do, they're automatically going to assume that you know the answer.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I love that. It's one of the things I love about this is that when you do this, guys, part of what Russ talked about at the beginning was how to eliminate objections during the call. This is part of it. When you show up with certainty and you're asking the right questions, which demonstrate your expertise, just by asking the questions and the prospect is, wow, that's true. I never thought about that. Well, that's true. Because the client is showing up with coping mechanisms and survival stories. Meaning, oh, it's just a shoulder thing. It's not that bad. And, it's probably just my age. And they start writing stories. They're normalizing bad behavior, the pain. They normalize it. They take pills. But in the end, it's getting worse and it's getting worse and it's getting worse. Your prospects are going to do that to you on the phone as well. They're going to show up knowing there's a problem, or they wouldn't waste their time on, an hour on a webinar, an hour on a phone call. So they know there's a problem. But when they get on the phone, they're going to have these normalizing, or I call them coping stories about, oh, it's not that bad. I just thought I'd look to see what you have. And unfortunately, most people buy that. And it's like, I just don't believe it. If I have, for example, when I had pain, Russ, I actually had that story, except my pain was in my lower back. And I didn't know what it was. And all of a sudden I'd be talking, and then all of a sudden it felt like I was getting stabbed in the back with an ice pick in my lower back. Turns out it was kidney stones. And when I had that, I remember my mind immediately started wanting to normalize it. Oh, it's probably something that'll pass. Oh, it's this. But privately and subconsciously, I was worried as hell. I hope this isn't kidney cancer. Oh my God, I hope it's not worse. I hope this isn't another, my mind was already going there, but my words were all the coping stories about, oh, it's probably nothing. And that's what your prospects are doing. And if you don't know how to ask the right questions and care enough about them, all of a sudden they will not have certainty that you know the problem, much less that you're the one to fix it. But conversely, if you know the right questions and you care enough to ask, all of a sudden you do a ton to establish that authority and that authentic expertise that you're hoping to accomplish on the call.
That's right, guys. So doing those enrollment calls, it's almost like peeling away the layers of an onion. We all do this, with these big problems in our lives, whether it's your marriage isn't working, your health is out of whack, your business isn't working. If we really spent a lot of time dwelling on those problems every day, it would take all the wind out of our sails. We would get sad, we would get depressed. And actually there's a lot of people who live there. But what we do instead is we kind of almost subconsciously build up these rationalizations to the problem, like Mark's talking about. It's not that bad. It'll get better next month. The clients will come. I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing, and eventually they're going to show up. I'll lose the weight next month. I'll lose the weight next year. I'll take care of this medical problem some other time. And we have these rationalizations because they enable us to get through the day. But at the end of the day, what they really do is just keep us stuck where we are. And so part of having that real enrollment conversation is about asking those deep probing questions that peel away all these layers of rationalization. And so you finally get down to the truth, which is, hey, I have this problem. Here's what it's costing me, and I want to do something about it. So if you're doing these calls correctly, it's actually going to be an incredible, life-changing conversation for the client, where it's not going to be some big, heavy, pushy, nasty sales call where you're not listening to them and they're not listening to you, and you're just beating them over the head with your BS objection lines that you picked up from some book. No, you're going to be having a real conversation, like a real honest conversation. You're going to be having the conversation that everybody else in their life is afraid to have with them. Because I guarantee you, the people around them know their business isn't working. They know their marriage isn't working. They know whatever, but they don't have the guts to stand up and be a true leader and have that real conversation and give them that gift of coming to face with the truth that they have this problem and they better do something about it now, because it's not going to get better by itself. And that's really what we're called to do, guys, as coaches, as mentors, as leaders, is I can't lead someone into results unless they realize that they have a problem. They got to do something about it. So everything that we're talking about in this conversation is just designed to facilitate them having that aha moment. Because most people, when they truly come face to face with their problem, they're going to decide to do something about it. And if you've handled yourself properly and you've handled the call properly, then what they're going to do about it is hire you and do everything you tell them to do. And they're going to actually get the result. And that's going to be a client that you're going to be talking about and bragging about forever, because you were able to change their life because you had the guts to hang in there in that phone call. And guys, that brings me to the third reason why you're getting objections, right? So the first one that we talked about was that there's no clarity about the problem. The second one is they don't have certainty that you can fix it. We talked about some strategies to overcome that. The third reason you're getting objections is because they just don't know you care. They just don't know you care. And the reason they don't know you care is because your focus is inward on yourself instead of outward on them. And this shows up in your marketing. It shows up in your advertising. It shows up in the way you do the calls. Like within a few minutes of talking to someone, whether they're truly interested in you and truly care about you, or whether they're just there to get something for themselves. And if they get that feeling when you're on a sales call, they're going to hang up the phone. They're going to get out of there. And you know what? They should. Because at the end of the day, you're not there supporting them. You're not there in service of them. When we do an enrollment conversation, guys, our goal is not to make the sale. And people don't know this. In fact, we don't even make an offer to about 20% of the people we talk to, just because after talking to them, we go, hey, you know what? Actually, we're not really sure we can help you with this. And so we try to show up with massive integrity on every single call. So we don't even make an offer to 20% of the people that we talk to. And our goal on those calls is not to make a sale. Our goal is to get the client to the truth so that they can make the best decision about how to move forward. And so we can make the best decision about how to move forward. And part of the reason we do that, guys, is because let's say they decide not to move forward with us. We still want it to be a positive conversation. We still want them to have so much more clarity about their problems, about what to do about them, than they did when they first came to talk to us. So they've got to know that you care. And if at any point in the conversation they feel like, hey, this person doesn't really care about me, this person's just trying to sell me, they're out of there. Period. End of story.
And that's the remnants, Russ, of how they still teach sales. Most of the sales trainers out there is about, we're going to come in closing, always be closing. The ABCs of sales, always be closing. So when you show up with that energy, the client's going to pick up on it. And very quickly, they're going to realize that in your eyes, you're simply a commission check. You're a bragging point for them to go tell all their buddies about how you closed them. And what happens is that also creates this subconscious defense where the prospect can't quite tell what it is, but they just don't trust you. And the problem with that is that when you show up with, as I call it, commission breath, and you're trying to close people, the problem is the buyer will feel that, the prospect will feel that, and they will go elsewhere. And it works the opposite way too. When you show up with an open heart where you're generally there to help serve somebody and let them make the best decision for them and their family, I have faith that the clients usually will. The clients usually will choose to solve the problem, as you said, about 9 out of 10 times. When they get clear on the problem, when they realize that if they don't solve the problem, it's not going away, and here's what it's costing you, people do it out of self-preservation. And when you do it with the right questions and you do it with the right care, they know that something is different about you. And that is where the buyer of today wants to work, with people like that. And it's something that we've been teaching our clients, and our clients are just the amount of enrollments that they make now. It makes the sales process fun for both parties. The prospect now enjoys the conversation, and the enrollment coach enjoys the conversation, because we're grown-ups. You've got a problem. Do you want to solve it or not? Would you like some help? Here's how we can help. It's not much more complicated than that.
No, it really isn't. And guys, look, I get it. You know, when you're first starting out in your business and you're just trying to make that first sale, or maybe you've got something going on where you have a cash flow problem, or you're looking at your bank account going, I don't know, man, I got to enroll a client, or I'm going to have to go apply for a job at Home Depot or something. I get it. But part of what you need to do before those breakthrough calls, before those sales calls, is you have to empty yourself. You have to empty yourself and just put your focus square on the client. My problems don't matter. My income doesn't matter. It's not about me. It's not about the sale. It's about this person who is showing up in the hopes that I can help them out of this terrible problem. And part of my goal and my job and my obligation as a coach is to put 100% of my focus square on them and on their problems and lead them to that point of truth. Now, once they're there, like Mark said, most of the time they're going to decide to do something about it. Sometimes people come face to face with the truth and they get too scared and they say, hey, you know what, I'm going to keep this problem for a while. And that's okay. It's up to them. You know, all we can do is create an opportunity for them to change their life. But if you handle these calls properly and they really come face to face with the truth, like I said, most of the time they're going to choose to do something about it. And so these sales calls, guys, that I know sometimes people dread these calls. They dread doing sales calls. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to whatever. You got to understand, first of all, you are leaving so much money on the table by not doing these calls. This was me, guys. Look, when I was first starting in my business, I was obsessed with passive income. You know, I was obsessed with 4-hour work week. I was obsessed. I don't want to talk to anybody on the phone. But I tried it. I said, you know what? Look, man, I'm going to try this for the first time. I'm going to say, look, I'm not going to just send people to like an add to cart button. I'm not going to sell like a low ticket ebook. I'm really going to have a real conversation with people, and I'm going to enroll them into something that can truly change their life. And you know what happened? My income jumped from about $20,000 a month to $200,000 a month almost overnight. And my first $200,000 a month, I did completely by myself. I didn't have a team of people working with me. It was me and one assistant, and that was it. And we had my first $200,000 month. And from that moment on, I was absolutely convinced. And not only, guys, by the way, guys, not only did I make more money that month, but my clients showed up coachable, they showed up resourceful, they showed up decisive, and they did everything I told them to do. So we went from like selling an ebook and people would buy the ebook and maybe nobody would even read it, to now we were having a real conversation with people, getting them into a transformational coaching program, and they did every single thing I said, and they went on to get incredible results. So not only did my income go through the roof, but the impact I was making in the world suddenly showed up. Suddenly I was making a difference. Suddenly I was changing the world one client at a time. And the moment I saw that, I was like, all right, cool. I'm never going back. I'm never not going to do these calls again. I'm going to focus on these calls. I'm going to do them right. I'm going to perfect this process. I'm going to show my clients how to do it. And that's the reason, guys, we're doing between $1 million and $1.5 million a month in our business right now. And it's the reason our clients collectively have done probably close to $1 billion in high ticket sales of their own. It's because we have this process totally dialed in a way that creates a truly positive experience for you, because you make more money and you get to make a bigger impact. but it also creates a really transformational experience for your clients as well, because they feel like you understand them. They have total certainty that you can support them, and they know, and they feel that you care more than anyone else. And that's the foundation of a beautiful coaching relationship. You don't want people to come and sign up with you because you browbeated them into it, because you bullied them into it, because you cajoled them into it. You don't want them to come and sign up with you because they don't really care about the problem. They don't really know why they're there. They just know you have a Ferrari and they want a Ferrari too. You don't want people to sign up because of that. You want people to sign up because they're having a real moment of understanding where they're stuck and that you're the one who can help them get out of it. That sets up the coaching relationship beautifully. So when you're doing these sales calls properly, guys, everything facilitates not just the sale, but it facilitates the client actually getting the result. Because at the end of the day, more than anything else, that's what it's all about. So look, guys, if you want to incorporate these strategies into your business and you're either not doing those sales calls yourself, you're not making those high ticket sales, or if you are and it's just not working, then I want to introduce you to this strategy because it can be an absolute game changer for you. So here's what I want to offer you. We have set aside some time in the next 24 to 48 hours to talk to you personally about how you can apply these strategies in your business and in your enrollment calls starting today. There's no charge for this. It's absolutely free. Here's who it's for. You've got to be a total expert at what you do. And that doesn't mean you need to be certified or you need to have a bunch of letters after your name, but you got to be able to solve a major life or business challenge. All right. So if you're 17 years old and you're like working at Pinkberry, that's cool, but you got to be able to solve a major life or business challenge. So this probably isn't for you if you're just looking to make some money online. You've got to be able to solve a major life or business challenge. But if that is you, then I want you to go to clientsondemand.com/talk and book an appointment to speak to us. It's clientsondemand.com/talk. Now, when you go to that link, you're going to be taken to a calendar page that has all of our available appointment times on it. Just pick one that you want, fill out the short application, and we will call you at the time that you chose, and we'll dive into this stuff. We'll look at everything that's happening in your business. We'll look at what's working. We'll look at what's not working, and we'll put our heads together and come up with a step-by-step game plan for you to get where you want to go. And if you want us to help you do that, cool. That's great. If you don't, that's fine too. But either way, like I said, our goal is for you to get maximum clarity out of that conversation, where you're going to have such a deeper understanding of where you've been wasting your time, of what you've been doing wrong, of what's standing in your way. And it will literally shave years off of the learning curve to get your business where you want it to be. So go to clientsondemand.com/talk and book that appointment to speak to us.
Yeah, it's one of the best parts of what I get to do, Russ, is that we take people who have never sold anything. We've taken people that have done corporate sales and teach them to stop selling and start having an authentic conversation. That's what buyers demand today. And I love about it is we're taking people that are introverts, people that have never done it. And now they're enrolling people into their high ticket programs where they're getting great results. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. It's about the client on the other end. And it's so fun to watch people. And I was going to ask you, after you had that $200,000 month and you started doing it, as great as the money was, how much more fulfilling was it when you watched your clients apply it and actually get the great results? How much fun was that?
That's what gets us out of bed every day. And look, guys, I know if you're just starting out, you're like, yeah, Russ, I just got to get some money in the door. And that's all you can think about. But I promise you, the more you focus on serving your clients in the way that we're talking about, the faster you're going to hit your income goals. And if you really want to get good at it, come and work with us and we'll show you how it's done. That's why we get such fast results for our clients. And guys, look, once your immediate financial needs are met, once you're making, $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, $200,000 a month, or whatever, like some of our clients are doing even more than that. Believe me, you stop worrying about the money. And it really just becomes about all of these people that you want to help. So if that's where you're going, let's start there. Right? Let's start there. Instead of focusing on just trying to make a quick sale, instead of focusing on just trying to make a quick buck, focus on service the way we're talking about. And you will probably get the sales and you will probably get the clients too. You understand? It's a shift in focus, but you're setting yourself up for success in the short term and in the long term, because the way that you relate to people is going to be totally different than all of your competitors. And it doesn't matter if you're just getting started. It doesn't matter if you have other people in your industry that are like more established than you and making more money than you. They have a nicer website, they have nicer branding, they have nicer pictures. Guys, look, none of that stuff matters. This is what matters. If you can come into your marketplace with a superior sales process that truly serves the client, you will wipe the floor with any competition. They will just be irrelevant. Guys, look, we share results a lot of our clients who are doing, multiple $100,000 per month. And what's funny is that none of those people had a big following when they came to us. Many of them hadn't even ever made a high ticket offer when they came to us. Certainly none of them were famous. None of them had been on Oprah. None of them had these New York Times bestsellers and stuff. Guys, they were just regular people like you and me. They were good at what they did, but they didn't have their marketing dialed in. And so they were able to come to us and we fixed that piece. We'll fix your marketing, fix your sales, and then everything changes. And that is what enabled them to scale so quickly. So if that's what you want, then let's talk about whether we can help you do that. Go to clientsondemand.com/talk and book that appointment to speak to us.
Yeah, guys, book the call. We've had people that said they learned more in the one call than they've spent the last 5 years trying to figure it out. So let's help get you some clarity. And if this will work for you, we'll have a conversation. If it doesn't, we'll steer you to something that does. But at this point, look at your bank account, look at how many new clients that did or didn't come in last month, the month before, and the month before. And that's going to give you a good idea about whether or not you have room for growth. And if you're on this call, I have a hunch you know there's a whole lot more available to you. So let's have a conversation and see if we can't help you fix it.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. We love you. Thank you so much for tuning into us. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, get those notifications so you know when we're going to be doing another show. If you're watching us on Facebook, drop a comment, share this broadcast, put it in front of the people who need to see it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. And by the way, go to clientsondemand.com/talk and book an appointment to speak to us. I'm Russ Ruffino, and we will catch you on the next show. Hey, thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you guys want to subscribe, there's a little picture of me. You can click that button right over there. If you want to book a breakthrough session with our team, which you absolutely should do, then you can click that button there or go to clientsondemand.com/talk to book an appointment to speak to us. We'll go ahead and catch you on the next show. Bye-bye.